Welcome to another waitingfornextyear.com podcast. On the other end of the line is the resident fight MMA expert, Jamie Mecklenburg. How's it going, sir?
It's good, man. How are you?
Good. When was the last time we talked?
I want to say it was right before
the title defense.
It was in May, right before Stipe's last defense in Dallas.
Yeah, so that was the defense that really, I mean, they all mean something, but it really, really meant something.
Right. Yeah, because you defend it once and that makes you the real champion, but then you defend it twice and now it's okay. Okay, now you're very serious. So if you defend it a third time, you're the best ever. So that's coming next.
Well, and that's the thing. They're already kind of talking about him as potentially being the best ever, which is pretty sweet.
Well, it's sweet, and it's a long way from what they were talking about after he beat Verdum less than a year ago. So yeah,
you mean when he got lucky? Back when he got lucky?
Right. Yeah, he got lucky then, and then he got lucky against Overeem. I didn't hear lucky against JDS though, which is good. But yeah, whatever.
Is there and I look, I'm not looking for a scoop, but just generically speaking, is there anybody that he needs to fight? I mean, it feels like the rumor mill's even been kind of quiet.
Yeah, no, I mean, who do you need to fight at this point? The last person he fought just got popped and taken off the UFC 215 card, and he just beat him handily in the first round. He got popped, and we don't know what it was for yet. It was for something, but we don't know what. JDS.
Oh, okay.
And then... So now you got this Francis Ngannou, who was supposed to fight JDS. He's kind of the current up-and-coming heavyweight that everyone's scared of.
Well, and that's the fun thing about the heavyweight division. There's always an up-and-coming guy that everybody's scared of. It used to be Stipe. Now he's on top.
Yeah, absolutely. And there always will be another one up-and-coming. But... yeah, so now at this point, it's, give me, is it Kane? Is it going to be Kane? I don't know. Can Kane stay healthy long enough? Nobody seems to know. I can't remember the last time I saw Kane fight, and I have nothing against Cain Velasquez. He was one of the best heavyweights of all time, but I honestly don't remember the last time I saw him fight. So I don't know what the next fight is. It doesn't really matter. I don't think Stipe's on top of his game. He's got some things working on his end. I think he'd love to see a heavyweight boxing match, to be honest with you, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires in the near future here for him.
All right, you ready for the segue?
Oh, I like segues.
We know that Stipe's next fight probably won't be Brock Lesnar, who was recently called out by Jon Jones. Can you believe the Jon Jones news?
I got to tell you, that was solid segue action right there.
See, that was like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon segue.
It was. I was not expecting the Brock Lesnar turn that you pulled into it. I loved it. It was really well done. And it's extra special because the last time Brock fought in the UFC, you and I actually watched that together. He got popped as well. Shockingly, got popped for steroids. So Jon Jones. Who would have thought?
So Jon Jones wins back his title, goes on the victory tour, and then come to find out he got popped for steroids. I guess he's, as you and I are speaking, the news just broke an hour ago, and they've not stripped him of his title yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so TMZ said that they stripped him of his title. They said that they stripped him of the title and that he... tested positive. I'm gonna do a Craig Lindell here, and I'm gonna start typing in the middle of this podcast and
it's all good. I
figure
love
it out. I can't remember exactly what they're saying.
By the way, the first thing that came up on my Twitter search for Jon Jones was the guy who has Jon Jones, who's not Jon Jones.
Dude, he's my favorite.
And he's my favorite. So he retweeted the TMZ sports news and just goes, "Fuck," and finishes the word. But
I love him. Yeah, it only happens once every, I don't know, maybe once or twice a year. But anytime the Jon Jones news hits, I go straight to his Twitter feed because I can't stop laughing. He's like a graphic designer in New York City. just some random white dude. And anytime something happens with Jon Jones, he gets he gets beat up on Twitter, but he handles it really well. He's a great follow.
Yeah, because, if you're on Twitter and you want to at Jon Jones, you're going to at Jon Jones, not John Bones, which is the fighter's actual Twitter handle. And away we go.
Yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, Jon Jones, man, he tested positive for Tyrannical, Tyrannical. I should know how to say that properly, but so basically he got popped just a little over a year ago, and I forget exactly what it was he tested positive for, but he was able to say that it was basically from boner pills.
Let me look up Tyrannical. Oh yeah, the first result is from steroid.com.
Yeah, it's 100% an anabolic steroid. Like there's no, dude, it wasn't from dick pills this time. There's no argument. It's you were taking steroids, straight up steroids, which nobody does anymore. Like that's not a thing anymore. Steroids, you'll find that from the guys at like Gold's Gym over in California. That's where you find this stuff. So I don't know, man. I can't remember the last time any fighters got popped for just a straight up steroid. It's been a while. Like this is not this was added to the USADA list like 3 or 4 years ago. So to get popped for this is just, I don't know, it's just really stupid.
Yeah. And it's hard to figure out like what it means because this guy has been up and down and seemingly probably at this point almost definitely lied through his teeth. How many times in a row now?
Yeah, I mean, what it means is it's a career wasted. And there's always going to be people who defend him, and I'm not, I don't hate Jon Jones by any stretch of the imagination. He was an amazing fighter, but
check this out, by the way.
Yeah.
Without question, the effects of oral Tyrannical will be most valuable to the athlete. And by athlete, we actually mean athlete. We're not talking about the bodybuilder or gym rat that lives like one, but rather someone who competes in a competitive sport of physical skill. The use of oral Tyrannical will significantly promote muscular endurance. They won't tire out as fast, and their overall rate of recovery should be greatly improved.
That's it, man. Like that's there you go.
It's not one of those bulking steroids.
Yeah, so I stand corrected. Even this isn't what you're going to find out on the West Coast at Gold's Gym. It's going to be what you find in the UFC.
But if somebody told you that you could do that, I mean that's the one that you would take if you had to go into a 5-round championship match.
Yeah. If you didn't think you could handle a 5-round championship match after a year layoff, which, I mean, he had a year layoff, so I guess he thought that was. But even still, I don't get how you can go into a competition. You go in knowing you're going to be tested. You're tested out of competition now. So now when you go into training camp, you are tested, and you're tested multiple times, and then you're tested the week of the fight, and then you're tested after the fight. And I think it was either a week of test or it was just after the fight, the post test. How do you possibly think you can get away with taking an anabolic steroid, even with a masking agent, because they can test for those as well. And they do test for those as well. USADA isn't, I don't know, it's not the UFC running their own testing anymore. It's USADA. You don't, that's Olympic testing. You cannot get around it. It's impossible.
And maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he probably, even though he loses the title, does he have to give out the paychecks?
I don't know.
That money probably already cleared.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right, but I don't know.
See, in baseball, it was a victimless crime. In fighting, I mean, it's not.
Right. It's not. It's not at all. I look at Mark Hunt, who fought Brock Lesnar and turned around and sued the UFC, and it's still, that lawsuit is still happening because Brock Lesnar tested positive the week prior to the fight, and they still let him go out there and fight. So now you got a guy like Jon Jones who, for whatever Jon Jones is, or I'm sorry, for Cormier, I'm thinking of, for whatever Daniel Cormier is, he tries really hard to be the good guy. A lot of people think he's the bad guy. Whatever. He's still an Olympic wrestler collegiate all-star, national champion, like kind of the all-American dude. Definitely not on steroids.
Has not tested positive before, at least.
No,
We know that.
Absolutely not. Has already gone all the way up to basically weigh-ins the last time they were supposed to fight, when Jon Jones got yanked from that one, which going through a full training camp, cutting weight up until the day of weigh-ins, and then have the fight scrapped. Then he goes in and he fights Jon Jones, and he gets handled pretty well by Jon Jones. And then here we go, 2 weeks later, Jon Jones tested positive, and he just found out today. Like everything, all of this dropped to Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier today that he tested positive. Like, I don't know. It's not fair to anybody, and it's not a victimless crime. It's, if you came out and said steroids should be, let's go ahead and legalize steroids for everybody. At least at that point, you know what you're getting into. But this isn't. That's not what this is. This is, it's illegal. It's against the rules. And if you're doing it, there's an absolute upper hand on those people fighting that aren't doing it, like Daniel Cormier.
Well, and in baseball, technically, it's not a victimless crime either, because all those pitchers and all those different people, were looked upon poorly because of whatever. But in fighting, it's just to a totally different level, because a guy, I think it's safe to say that, humans generally only have a certain number of knockouts or punches in them. And
yeah, nobody in baseball, no pitchers are getting punched in the face repeatedly. So yeah, I guess it's somewhat, there's a victim in a way, but it's apples and oranges. Yeah, they're looked upon differently, but they're not walking in there taking the short elbows from Jon Jones, or those spinning back fists, or a flying knee, or a kick, or a punch. They're not. It's completely different. And for him to go in, for any of these guys to go in with that kind of like Brock Lesnar, man. Listen, that's a dude who is 260 some pounds when he was on whatever he was taking, and there wasn't an ounce of fat on him. And what he was able to do to Mark Hunt and just throw him around like a rag doll, it was the least shocking thing in the world that he tested positive for steroids. It's not right. It's not a level playing field, and people's lives are in danger. You can't go into this thinking that they're not. It's not just livelihoods, it's actual lives. It's people's, ability to think, ability to form a sentence, just ability to live. I don't know. It's just a completely different thing. So for Jon Jones to test positive is just, again, not all that surprising to me personally, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So that's obviously a big part of the story today. But the main reason that I wanted to talk to you is because the other MMA news this week, and it's one of the biggest sports stories of the week, is Conor McGregor Mayweather boxing match. First of all, are you where are you planning on watching this thing, on some random dude's Periscope?
No. So I've been invited to a few different places to go see it.
Ooh, aren't you Mr. Popular?
I'm not. God bless you. That's so far from true. I have 1,000 things to say to that to show you how I'm not. But no, so yeah, we've been invited to a couple of places. I don't know. I don't know. I'll end up somewhere to watch it, and I guess I'm not one of the crowd on this one. I'm trying really hard to get into it. I've been trying really hard to get into it for the past couple of weeks. I'm struggling. I don't really get down with the shit talking. Excuse my language. Like, it's not my thing. It's not my thing. Like, Conor McGregor is really good at what he does. I don't hate him for it at all, but I just don't, like, I don't know. I hear a guy do what he does, and I'm just like, whatever.
I can't really be shocked by it. I'm kind of with you.
Yeah, I'm just, I don't know. It's just, it is what it is with him. And Floyd Mayweather's always been the same, and I don't know. It is what it is. I think it's been interesting here over the last week.
And I actually dislike Mayweather, like as a human, but not in a way where it's fun for me to root against him.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I'm not a big, he's been, his team has been good, like with some of our fighters over in this area and helping them with sponsorships and stuff like that. But still, there's some things in his personal life that I'm not a big fan of. But yeah, like you said, it's not like oh my God, I hate him. I hate him. Like, I'm just kind of meh with this fight. It's like this big, huge, it's turned into this really big to do, which it's good for MMA. I don't know how good it is for boxing though. And I'm not a I would defer to other people who are very much boxing aficionados that I know. Um, I just don't think this is such a great big thing for boxing. I do think that the past week has been really interesting watching the betting lines. It was very much a big Mayweather was a big favorite for the entire time up until this last week, and now it's really. I don't think I've seen McGregor as the favorite yet, but it has gotten very close to that, which I think is very interesting. I don't gamble on these kinds of things, but I always kind of pay attention to them, and so I think that that's pretty interesting. But otherwise, I'll be somewhere watching it, and that's about it. I'm just not as sucked into it as a lot of people seem to be.
Yeah, I'm not as interested in it either, and I've already kind of decided that if McGregor wins, that it's kind of somehow rigged. Like somebody decided that that was better.
Really?
Yeah, I just, Mayweather bets on himself all the time and all this
Yeah.
other stuff that goes on. And I, in the previous podcast that some people might or might not have heard, I likened it to, you know, uh, Mayweather is Usain Bolt and McGregor is like the guy who won the Boston Marathon. They're both the best runner in the world, but
Yeah.
like it's not the same event. Like if you're running the 200, like yeah, technically I guess Usain Bolt's coming out and running his non-primary event, but like you're asking a guy to run a completely different event, and he's
Yeah.
and so with that in mind, this idea that McGregor should be able to step up and beat the best guy in the world, it doesn't even compute. It just doesn't even
Yeah.
compute. And so if it happens, I'm just going to assume there was some funny business.
So that's a really good analogy that I haven't heard before, and I'm not trying to kiss your ass here, but that
Appreciate
is
that.
a no. That's a good one. I think the way that I don't know, I haven't really put an analogy to it. I just keep thinking to myself, okay, if we flip this around, and let's just say we just allowed elbows, just elbows, it's a boxing match with elbows. Mayweather is screwed. If we just allowed knees, a boxing match with knees, Mayweather is screwed. But instead, you're taking Conor McGregor and you're throwing him into Floyd Mayweather's ring and into Floyd Mayweather's game. And I just don't. I don't know. My brain tells me Floyd Mayweather's going to spend 12 rounds toying with McGregor, and it's just it's going to kind of get more and more sad as the fight goes on, as you realize what's happening. That's kind of my brain. My heart is Conor McGregor. If that left hand does what it could do, that is a big story. And so I'm not looking at it as it was preordained or fixed in any way, shape, or form. If Floyd lands that punch, or I'm sorry, if Conor lands that punch, if he lands that punch, I'm looking at it more. In all honesty, if he lands that punch and puts him down, that's a lot better for my friends than if Floyd toys around with him for 12 rounds. That's kind of how I'm looking at it.
I agree with that. That makes a lot of sense.
I'm just not bought. I don't know. I'm not sold on the whole thing. It's a circus, man. And they know what they're doing. I'm just not the target audience. Does that make sense? I'm not the target audience. I'm not the one who is all hyped up and watching all the press stuff and all that. Like okay, so there's these two guys that are talking shit to each other and they're going to fight and we'll see what happens. Like I don't need to hear I don't need, as funny as it is, I will give him this. When Conor McGregor told Floyd Mayweather that I don't know why you're carrying a school bag you can't read, that made me laugh.
Yeah,
but otherwise,
there's been some funny moments, but you're
Yeah.
right. It's like, you won't believe what they're about to say next,
Right,
and I'm like,
right.
yes, I will.
Yep. You know what they're not going to say? Hey, good luck. I have a lot of respect for you and good luck. That's not going to come out of their mouths. So
that's totally true.
yeah. But you know what, man? I've come to the conclusion a while ago that I'm not the target audience for a lot of things. And that's cool. Like, whatever. I'll still, like I said, we have neighbors like right behind us that are getting in the fight and invited us over, and we got some other people in the area. So I'll check it out. But in the end, who am I rooting for? I'm definitely rooting for the MMA guy. And that's not even like a personal, I think Floyd's a piece of crap thing. If Conor McGregor wins, it sets up some big things for my friends. And I think that's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah. In a weird way, I feel like even if I even buy into Mayweather being the villain because of his personal life, I'm still buying in, and he's kind of winning. Yeah. Like the only way to properly boycott something like that, if that's what you want to do, is to ignore him. Like you can't be invested in a negative way because he still wins.
Well, and I don't understand how boxing still is as big a draw as it is, because to me it hasn't been. But Floyd's definitely always been a big draw. Pacquiao was a big draw. Anthony Joshua, the heavyweight champ. I don't even know who this dude is. And that's the truth. Stipe is my friend, and he would love a fight with Anthony Joshua as a payday, as a chance to show everybody what exactly he's able to do, not just in MMA but in boxing. But I don't know who Anthony Joshua is. He's not even. I don't even think he's the toughest guy in the UK, let alone in the world.
And there's so many boxing fans that think that everybody knows who these guys are. And I think there's a self-awareness among MMA fans that like everybody who's a UFC fan knows who Stipe is, but I don't expect, every housewife from here to Phoenix, Arizona to know who he is.
Yeah, and that self-awareness does not exist on the boxing side of things. And
I don't think so either.
I have friends who are boxing coaches and are extremely skilled at what they do, and they live and breathe this stuff. But I don't think if you just questioned 100 people in downtown Cleveland, Ohio, just random people, and asked who Anthony Joshua is, they're not going to say the current heavyweight boxing champion. They're going to have no clue.
Well, this is another thing that I was thinking about, just in terms of like placing it in perspective. Like, how many MMA podcasts are there? There are probably 1,000 at this point.
Yeah.
How many boxing podcasts are there?
I have no idea.
And that just goes to show like the relevancy in the modern culture. And that's not to say that MMA or UFC are bigger than boxing as a cultural entity, but they're more current. Baseball is still bigger than the NBA, but if you ask me who's got the biggest Q rating in the modern culture, it's the NBA. It's the NBA, and so it's again, it's kind of apples and oranges.
It is, and that's all good, man. My other thing is this: I'm very adamant that I'm not going to hate on anybody or anything that people enjoy. Like
this is what we retweeted from Sports Yelling this week.
It really is. Yeah, it really is.
Let people enjoy things.
Yeah. Guess what? I have never watched a single episode of Game of Thrones. Not one. I've also never tweeted about it or put it on Facebook or anywhere else. I read the books, never watched an episode. I see all these people enjoying it on Sunday nights, and I think to myself, man, good for them. I hope that someday I'm going to binge watch it, and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm just not watching it right now.
Yeah.
And the people enjoying the solar eclipse, and people were like hating on them for it. And I'm like, some of them were my friends, and I'm like, are you really like getting upset with people for enjoying something that happens every 100 years? Like, this is where we're at this point in time. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, the furthest I went on that, somebody asked me if I was going to watch it, or if I was like, yeah, I'm probably just, I might hit the YouTube channel, but no.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
But it wasn't like, stupid, no way would I do that dumb
You're not
thing.
Out there actively hating on people for enjoying their life.
And I will do that on occasion, like when it comes to Josh Paloha and his horrible country music, but only when I find it funny. Like, really, honestly, if you want to go to Blossom and pay for that Drek, be my guest.
None of us are perfect.
By the way, that's just a recurring theme. I hope to bring it back every single week.
I enjoy,
especially when he's not here to defend himself.
And good for him. And let's not forget there's other people that we can make fun of with this podcast, but we all enjoy our own stuff, man.
And I like to make fun of myself on the podcast as well.
I like to make fun of you as well.
Hey.
No, it's, let's just all, I don't know, especially now in 2017 with everything else going on. Can we just have a little decency? And, if Craig Lindell wants to go enjoy some awful band at the grog shop on the Tuesday night,
do.
And God bless them, let them do it. It's okay. It's fine. And they're probably not awful. I'm trying to throw something out there at you.
Just because those horrendous bands are the greatest nights of my life doesn't mean that you have to make fun.
Right. No. And the other thing, by the way, if nobody else follows Craig Lindell on social media, like, I don't know, let's just say Instagram, and see the slow motion videos of his son Will jumping into pillows and into pools and stuff. It's one of the coolest things ever, because Will is fearless and it's awesome.
Yeah, who'd have thought I could have a cool kid?
Listen, and the thing is, Ben's probably cool.
They're miracles.
They are miracles. Thank God they take after their mother.
All right, man. Thanks so much for talking fight game. I appreciate it very much, and we'll talk about this meh fight some other time.
Thanks for having me, brother.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Find us on iTunes. Give us a rating. Hopefully a good one. And until next time.
Find me on Twitter. It's @Mechalek, and I'm starting to think I might just get rid of all social media. So talk me out of it.
Or don't. Whatever.
Whatever.
All right. Talk to you next time. It's been the waitingfornextyear.com podcast.